I felt afraid to even want something anymore. I would get disappointed anyways. I always knew that I wanted to travel the world. So for me, that was such a big thing of I want to travel, I want to travel. And every time that I would go on a vacation or I would travel, something would happen where I would go to the hospital or I couldn't enjoy it. Like it was a genuine pattern at that point. I got in a depressive energy and I just didn't know how to move out of it. I didn't know what the messages were from the universe. And I decided to continue working in the psychiatry for a bit so that I could get the money to travel. And then I got into an accident.
I sat down with Felicia, a psychedelic and breathwork facilitator that guided me and many others through month-long journeys on how to integrate these trips. Today we hear about a personal story from how she was feeling that the world was against her to feeling that there's a loving and supporting reason behind even the worst of experiences.
I needed to have this accident so that I could finally give myself the time and the space to process, because I needed to sit on the couch for like 3 months before I was able to start learning to walk again. Like there were all these things that I couldn't do. So I felt trapped within my room and I felt trapped within my emotions and within my thoughts. And at a certain point, I needed to find a way to release it. So that's when I started meditating. I felt such a release that it was like, this is why it happened. The first moment that you genuinely touch unconditional love, you just start crying like, oh my God. And it just takes you over and it feels so true in your body. It feels so clean and clear. And there's just no denying that it's there, that it's present. And that then ripples out into, well, everything that I thought was true wasn't true.
This set her up to find the hidden meaning behind all the struggles in her past.
I see the curveballs as a lot of different ways how the universe is giving you opportunities to come closer into truth.
Today we have a nuanced conversation on all the ways the universe is trying to guide you through a path that is unique and right for you, and how you can feel confident in walking that path.
Before you can really see what you're here to do, what your gifts are, etc., you first need to reconnect with your soul. And once you felt it, there's no going back.
Today I'm here with Felicia. We're going to talk about being confident in a path that is fundamentally unclear. And to give a little bit more context about that, I want to start with a video that grabbed my attention.
How do you know that you're on your path? Because it disappears. That's how you know. How do you know that you're really doing something radical? Because you can't see where you're going. That's how you know. But everything you have lent on for your identity has gone.
When I first met you, you were not so sure of where you wanted to go. You were still very much into the system. When you go back to 7 years ago or 8 years ago, how did that life look?
Had finished my studies in the healthcare, and I was working in the psychiatry. And at the same time, I started my studies in psychology. And during that time, on an emotional level, I struggled a lot with social anxiety, where I would literally listen at the door to see if my roommates were in the hallway because I didn't want to face them. And during my work in the psychiatry, I came home crying every day because it was so... I just didn't feel like I could genuinely help people. And it just wasn't in the way that... Like I knew I had more to offer, more to do. So I really kind of felt trapped in that. And there were things falling apart with my friends and stressors around money and all these things going on. And then at a certain point, I kind of had a moment where everything broke down. And I decided to quit my studies and continue working in the psychiatry for a bit so that I could get the money to travel. And we went to Thailand, and that's when I had a pretty bad accident and I needed to have surgery there. And this was kind of my breakdown, full breakdown, where I got in a depressive energy and I just didn't know how to move out of it. I didn't know what the messages were from the universe. And I was already kind of getting into self-development, but I wasn't wasn't in the right place. That's kind of where my journey started.
What questions, what lived inside of you at that moment?
Yeah, I always knew that I wanted to travel the world. So for me, that was such a big thing of I want to travel, I want to travel. And every time that I would go on a vacation or I would travel, something would happen where I would go to the hospital or I couldn't enjoy it. Like it was a genuine pattern at that point. So this was another try where for my own mental health, out of an act of self-love, I wanted to go travel and do something that I knew I would want to do and would get joy out of. And then I got into an accident. So that raised a lot of questions of like, what is the message here? Is it wrong for me to make choices that I believe are good for me and that I want and that I enjoy? Should I just always listen to my mind instead of my excitement and my heart? And I started to question just all my belief systems, everything that I've done up until now, or up until that point, and why things have been going the way that they went, and why I always seem to be unlucky, and just a lot of, uncertainty and questioning it, pretty much everything you can question. And I also had a lot of time to sit with it because I needed to sit on the couch for like 3 months before I was able to start learning to walk again because I broke my leg. And during those 3 months, there was nothing I could do. I couldn't distract myself. The only thing I could do was sit with myself and hear all the thoughts that were going on. And I started journaling about it and doing some meditation because I heard that was a good thing to do. And that was actually the first time that I connected with a deep unconditional love and presence. And this started to bring even more questions to the surface of, but was this actually maybe a loving reason why all of this happened? Is there some message it's trying to tell me that I haven't been aware of up until now because I was looking through the lens of this shouldn't have happened, this is wrong.
And if you go back a little bit, like, why did you feel like you were unlucky?
It was like a full thing in my life as I was growing up, with small, tiny things to really big things, from like vacations where every time would get sick or would have to go to the hospital or something would happen, or small things of for example, I played table tennis a lot, or was a professional table tenniser when I was younger, and
7 times, 6 times Dutch champion, or
5 times?
5 times.
I'm not sure. Doesn't matter.
Like crazy shit.
Yeah. But even within that, I would always get like net balls at the end for the last point before they would win the entire match. Or like there were always just these tiny moments where everyone around me started to also say to me, like, you are so unlucky. Why are you so unlucky? Which only validated the feeling I had inside of I never get chosen when I want something, or when I genuinely want something and I go for it, something happens and I can't do it, or just tiny things that were kind of creating this resistance and I wasn't able to fully let the joy in, let the whatever. Or then for one person it goes really well and then I do the same thing and for me it went wrong. Like there were just all these little moments where I started believing that I was unlucky, and the world also put that on me, that I was unlucky. And also within my family life, it was kind of a thing also with my parents and their business that went bankrupt, and us kind of on a personal level also going bankrupt. And there were all these things where, like, I don't remember the full scope of it all, but where we got scammed and stuff like that, where it was just unlucky things. Unlucky.
Yeah, so that kind of then really gets into your world belief, and like the thing that I find so interesting and what I really want to dive deep in this episode is, how did someone get from that worldview that you feel like the world is against you that you feel like you are always the one that gets fucked or whatever, to someone who is obviously now on a path that you love. What I want to dive deep in is, how did you get through that whole journey of where you are right now? You talked about like, hey, maybe there could be actually a loving reason behind all of this. Like, how did you even get there?
Yeah, so I was at home and all I could do was just sit with myself and think. And at a certain point, it would get so crazy in my mind that I felt trapped. And I also wasn't able to go outside on my own because we had stairs and I couldn't go down the stairs. And like there were all these things that I couldn't do. So I felt trapped within my room, and I felt trapped within my emotions and within my thoughts. And at a certain point, I needed to find a way to release it. So that's when I started meditating, and I started kind of exploring the things that I have heard people talk about through self-development paths. This really gave me a moment where I connected with such love, and I was kind of processing everything that happened during the trip. And there was, throughout it all, I felt that there was love behind it. And I couldn't understand it because mentally I couldn't see it yet, but I could feel the love that was within and behind everything. So there was a moment where I started crying and I started releasing emotions, and then suddenly all these other things from past experiences and from my childhood and things started to release and come out of me. And afterwards, I felt so much lighter, and I felt like there was so much more space. So that was kind of a switch moment for me where I started thinking a bit differently. And I started like, if this is what I can feel now, only after weeks, if not months, of sitting in silence, sitting with myself, I couldn't have done that if I was traveling or if I was doing anything else that I was trying to do up until that point to kind of sit with myself and move through the social anxiety and everything that I was feeling. Those things weren't working. I had to put it down on my ass to sit with myself and feel it. And the moment I did, I felt such a release that it was like, this is why it happened. I needed to have this accident so that I could finally give myself the time and the space to process and to feel and to release whatever was stuck in me. And the more I started doing that, the lighter I started to feel and the more love started to be awakened within me. And that just brought me into this energy of course, this needed to happen. And I'm so grateful that it happened, because now I have found a piece inside of me that I felt disconnected from ever since I was younger. And I was slowly started to feel less social anxiety and more comfortable to seek discomfort and to step out of my comfort zone. And all of these things were all a ripple effect of me needing to sit with myself and not having a choice in it. And I got so much better after that. So then it's like, how couldn't this have been a loving reason if this is the result from this accident that felt terrible, but this is what comes out of it.
So this was your first, like how I see there's love behind something, how like it could also just be a mindset shift, right? Like when you think about there's love behind everything, that feels a little bit more esoteric, a little bit more spiritual, or like maybe even woo-woo.
Mm-hmm. But I can break it down.
Yeah, like tell me how you got to, but because you mean like the more esoteric version, right? Or did you like it obviously is a combination of a mindset and
of course. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I connected with this love that was all around me and that was within me. And from that place, I started releasing emotions, memories, experiences, etc. And as I was just present with the feeling, present with whatever came up, it started to awaken love and compassion within myself, which allowed me to see that behind everything we do, the motivation is love. Whether it's I feel shame, that's love, because it's trying to protect you from not being canceled out and rejected from the tribe, from the group, which previously we needed the tribe, otherwise we wouldn't survive. So it's a loving energy that's behind it, masked as shame. When we are angry, it's love, because it's showing us where our boundary is crossed. It's actually the love we feel towards ourselves or someone else. When it's fear, it's also love, because it's trying to protect you and keep you safe. When it's people pleasing, it's you trying to receive love through the things that you do. When you are desperate, it's that you know that there's greater love available to you, and therefore you want it. So there's also a loving reason, because you know you deserve more. So through everything, there is a certain love that's behind it and motivates us. And with everything that I was kind of purging out of my system and releasing, I could see and feel how from my state there was love, but also from the people and the experiences that put that on me, or the environment that I was in, that all of those things were there to activate more of myself, to activate more strength, to activate more love, to activate more authenticity, to find my own power within it all, whatever it may have been. But there was always a loving thing behind it, a loving motivation to why something happened or why I felt something. And I could see that, I could feel that. So that's kind of what opened that door for me.
And what gave you the impression that this was not just purely a cognitive mindset shift, but something that is more deeper in reality?
Because it happened before the mindset shift. I felt it first. I experienced it first. And that's what created the mindset shift.
And what was that like?
Bliss. Like the first moment, and like you can tell about that as well if you feel called to, but the first moment that you genuinely touch unconditional love, you just start crying like, oh my God. And it just takes you over, and it feels so true in your body. It feels so clean and clear, and there's just no denying that it's there, that it's present. And that then ripples out into, well, but now everything that I thought was true wasn't true, because I can feel it with such clarity.
And you reach this point through contemplation?
No, meditation.
Okay.
Yeah, like I was already working with the plant medicine, so there was already a little bit of a build up towards it. But with the meditation, like there was one moment I was sitting on my couch and I decided to meditate. And that was the first time in a sober state that I fully connected with it. And I just felt so much love coming into my body and out of my body, which once you are in that frequency, that's when you can start to see where the love is, because it's a match with what you are feeling. So I needed to first feel it, and then my mind started to explain the feeling that I felt.
How does this influence the way you think?
When you experience something, when you feel something for the first time that you didn't know existed, whether that's a positive feeling or a negative feeling, afterwards it's a crashing of your reality as it was, because something gets added to it which wasn't in there before. So now suddenly everything has to adjust to it. Everything has to sit with that. And okay, but who am I now? What do I do now? Everything needs to kind of recalibrate into that new experience. And the stronger that experience was, the more intensely everything is going to recalibrate. If it was just love, there's not a lot that it's like, okay, we don't have to do a lot. But if it's a full, oh my God, I'm crying and everything is, oh my God, love, then your system is gonna rethink it, because it's beyond what you have experienced before and far beyond it. But that is also the same mechanism that works with trauma, where you have a very intense experience, your nervous system gets dysregulated, but in a negative way. And then afterwards, you get this whole system and this belief systems is programmed to try and protect you, and things that you shouldn't do, things that you should do, things that aren't safe to do. So your whole system recalibrates to certain experiences you have, whether positive or negative. And this was a really positive one. And therefore, everything else started shifting too.
What were the first things you noticed? Mental shifts or different perspectives?
The first thing I think I noticed was my own inner spark coming back online, where after the accident, I felt afraid to even want something anymore. I felt afraid to have excitements, to have desires, to try and get myself somewhere because it wouldn't work anyways. I would get disappointed anyways. And after that experience, I realized that it's about growth and it's about development. It's about the unfolding. And even if things at first seem like they aren't preferable, doesn't mean that I won't get out of it with more light and more joy, because that's what happened in this case. So that gave me the courage to look at the world with more love, with more joy, with more peace, and let my excitements come forth a bit more, and to not stop dreaming, but to actually amplify it, because I know that this will create more healing, more moments of bliss, more light, more things that I want, even if I don't know I want it yet. That's the first thing I noticed.
So you dared to dream again?
Yeah, slowly, but yeah.
And how was this process of this clashing between you feeling that you're unlucky and that the world is against you, and like how, and then you suddenly have this experience, feel that that's not true, but then your ego comes back. The things that you've been taught, whether it's through parents or society or
yeah.
How do you like move through this crash and clash with grace?
Yeah. So that's a process that, in my experience, keeps unfolding, and you will get into deeper and deeper and deeper layers of it. This was kind of the first spark, the first initiation of all of that. But when it comes, for example, to the belief of being unlucky, the moment that I was able to walk again and I could just go throughout my day, I had planned another trip for 3 months to go to Asia. And I found someone I could do it with, and like I met someone online and whatever. And then COVID hit and we couldn't do it. And that was where the unlucky one got activated again. It's like, God damn, now I'm trying it again after everything I've been through. And here we are again. And this is something that kept coming up and is still coming up, but just in different, deeper layers, in more nuanced ways. Like last year even, I still had to move through another layer of feeling unlucky. And then realizing that my name is Felicia. It literally means luck, joy. So it's within my name that I hold that luck and that frequency of my name. Every time someone says my name, it says luck, it says luck. So it's not that far of who I am. But I needed to move through another layer and another layer. And what I have found is the more often you move through that and the deeper you go and the more nuanced you get, the stronger you come out of it every single time, until at a certain point you notice it's there, but you don't fully attach to it anymore. You don't actually take it on anymore. It's just part of, yeah, it's there. But it's not something that you identify with anymore. But that's a journey that you have to go through, and it's not something that is done in one time. Maybe you feel like, yeah, now my identity is completely shifted. But then 2 weeks later, you go back into your old self. But that's kind of the expansion and the contraction, and the expansion and the contraction of life and growth and everything that we go through. It's the natural mechanism of life. So every time that you have an expansion, you contract, and then it's up to you which pieces do you want to bring with you again for the next part. Then you expand again, and then you contract. And
to give this more and with expanding and contracting, you mean like when you first had this beautiful experience that you felt that love was behind it all, you expand, right? You expand your awareness, you expand your view. And then when COVID hit, like the world kind of throws you a challenge or throws you a curveball, and you get confronted with the parts of you that were still doubting this beautiful experience, right? And you start like one by one crawling your way through all of these old patterns that come up again, and you start reframing again, and then you think, okay, now I got it. And then
there we go.
And then life throws you a curveball again.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that these curveballs, like, is it fair to say that the loving reason behind these curveballs is so that you have something to work with? Or like, because if you never get challenged, you also not get confronted with the things that are not aligned yet, right?
Yeah, like it's almost to keep you in truth and not let you go up to your spiritual ego. That's kind of how you could see it. Because it's every time that you have this blissful, expansive experience, everything seems so crystal clear and it seems so embodied and like, yeah, this is it. And this is who I am now. But then there are all these other layers deep within your subconscious that it hasn't touched yet. So every time that you have a curveball that life throws at you, it's kind of a reminder of first humble yourself, like you're not there yet, which isn't bad, it's just truth. And on the other side, it's also an opportunity for you to become even more of who you are, to become an even clearer channel of love and of who you are here to embody. And it's kind of like a belief or a system within your mind, within your being, that has taken years to develop, takes years to unlearn. So in that, there is also a teaching of needing to have grace with yourself, needing to have compassion with yourself, letting go of, oh, this is the 20th time that I fall into the same trap. I must be doing something wrong. What is wrong with me? Instead of going into those patterns, to go into compassion and say, like, oh, it must be tough that you, again, feel this way. I love you. I'm here with you. How can we sit with this? Like you, within even going through the same pattern time and time and time, there's a teaching within it that brings you into more love, more compassion. So I see the curveballs as a lot of different ways how the universe is giving you opportunities to come closer into truth, into who you are, and to stay humbled.
These curveballs can be so demotivating, and it feels like it never ends. Like in my journey, I've plenty of videos where I'm like filming myself, and I'm like, I'm fucking done with this shit. What moved you to keep working through?
Yeah, so that has shifted a lot for me in the past 1-2 years, where I really had to realize that healing is not about healing. We don't heal because we have to heal because there's something wrong with us or there's something broken or only then we are deserving of love or whatever. We heal because it feels so damn delicious to have those moments where the shadow and the light come together as one and you just feel love and you feel bliss. Like it's so delicious when you have those moments, and that's why we do it. And therefore, there's also nothing to reject. So the cycles that you go through, even if it's the 200th time that you move through it, the point is not to get rid of it. The point is to accept all of it, the full spectrum, your shadow and your light, and to love all of it, to hold all of it, and to have compassion for all of it, and to find your center back into it. That's the point. So that you are in a state of joy and bliss. And the moments that you don't feel that way, and you think, why am I even doing this? That's why, because it feels good when you are connected to it. And once you felt it, there's no going back, because you know what is available to you. So how can you say no to that?
And like this was in the last 2 years, but how did you get yourself through it? Like when you first started, is that also?
Well, when I first started, I kind of had a different perspective subconsciously. Like I didn't realize it, but I was healing because I thought maybe then I'm good enough. Maybe then I'm perfect. If I'm perfect, then I deserve the love, then whatever. So that was my underlying motivation that I didn't even realize was there. And there was also, when you go through your first spiritual awakening, like the big one that really sets you up for the rest of the journey, what I notice a lot also with the people that I work with is a pattern that the first period you go through light, because before your spiritual awakening, you were in shadow. So to kind of rebalance it, to create harmony again, you first need to have the light. So that's where you start to realize all the big truths of the universe, and whoa, there's so much more magic than I thought. We have so much more control, and I can do this, and da 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 da. And there's this whole new world that you get awakened to, which is exciting because there's all love and there's all joy and there's beauty and there's whatever. So that kind of gets you through too, because it's just a lot of fun and a lot of beauty and love. But then at a certain point, you get to that barrier of, okay, I know the big truths now. I know how everything works. I know where all of this stuff is coming from, but I'm still getting the same things that I need to work through. And it's starting to annoy me. I'm starting to get done with it. And then you need to face off with a deeper layer, a deeper truth within yourself of why did you start healing in the first place? What is your actual reason behind it? Why are you trying to get rid of this? Why isn't it welcome? Why can you not love it? And that's where you go into the part where I kind of also went through of, we don't heal because we have to, not because there's anything wrong, but simply because it feels so damn delicious.
Yeah, if I share a little bit about my own motivation, it is mainly because I'm just too curious. Yeah. Like the seeking itself, like, and I think you're right, like it feels absolutely delicious when you uncover some truth. Yeah. When you realize that you've been living or moving in a certain way and that was based on some fucking belief out of your youth, that whatever, and like suddenly you truly get it and you start moving differently, and just this whole process, this whole process of, yeah, it's fucking hard sometimes, but like it's so worth it.
The reward is worth it. Yeah. But that's also for me now, I'm at a point, like there's always more to discover within yourself, always more to learn, always more to grow. But I realized that within myself, I'm starting to get at a point where I have explored myself to such depth that I start to get bored of it. Where it's just I know this is how I work. I know that this is the pattern. I know that this, yeah. So I notice now that this kind of takes my awareness slowly away from me, because I have all the tools. I know what needs work, what doesn't need work. I know how I can hold myself, how I can make myself feel safe. That I'm now at a point of, okay, now let's actually put this fully into practice and let's turn our attention to service. Where can we give this back? Where can we hold others that move through the same tough shit that I had to move through? Because I know how incredible difficult it can be. So my attention is less becoming on me and more so into holding others along the journey out of a true place of life is tough. So I'm here with you. I'm here to see you. I'm here to hold you. And there's nothing that needs to shift. You don't need to heal. If you want to be non-aware and just going with the flow of life and doing your own thing, amazing. I can still hold you and love you where I can. And with the others, I want to guide you if that's what you need. But it's your journey within the spirituality also shifts in from feminine selfishness to masculine, the deeper you go into service.
I think this is a good segue into the topic of, because since the intention for this podcast is to provide some tools or provide some insight from your own experience in the journey of feeling comfortable on a path that isn't laid out. How did you, because I know a little bit about your journey, that you couldn't find something that you were excited by. Everything was boring. That's what I heard a lot. And like in our conversations together during that period, you're on a path right now that feels aligned, it feels good for you. At least that's what I'm assuming. How did you even start to explore things when the whole world is boring and dissatisfying?
Yeah. So in all transparency, that's something that I still struggle with. I can still go into those states of nothing really excites me. Been there, done that before kind of energy. But back then, that was my identity. That was who I was. I just didn't have anything that genuinely excited me. And how I kind of moved out of it, and before you can really see what genuinely excites you, what your purpose here is, or what you're here to do, what your gifts are, etc., you first need to reconnect with your soul. You first need to reconnect with yourself. Because all those things of everything is boring to me, nothing excites me, it all comes from a disconnection from yourself. Like we just said in a snippet of everything is within one, and every perspective is within the thing, and you choose what perspective you take on. That's kind of the same thing with life. When there are things that you get a lot of joy out of or a lot of beauty, what you are actually seeing is your own light reflected onto that thing. When there's nothing that excites you and everything is boring, you can see your own shadow reflected back on that thing. And something that kind of made that clear for me is, for example, when I look at a sunset, same sunset, it's so beautiful. One time I can look at it and it's like, oh, wow, this is so beautiful. Life is beautiful. Nature, wow. And I can have tears and I can just be in awe. The other time I can look at it, it's like, yeah, been here, done that. It's just a sunset. I don't feel it. The difference isn't the sunset. The sunset is equally as beautiful. The difference is my perspective, is my light that I'm shining on it. Is it the shadow or is it the light? And our soul is a piece of the light. And as soon as you reconnect with your soul, with who you are, with your heart, with your essence, from that point you will start to project your light onto the other things in the external. And therefore you're more able to see what it is that excites you, because you have that light within you. So first is to reconnect with your soul. And then you can also start to make a list with all the things that bring you even the slightest bit of excitement. Even if it's just like, I could eat an apple right now, brings me kind of excitement. Write it down and go from there and see like anything you can find. And this kind of gets the motor running of excitement as well. So there are certain things, like certain tools and practices that you can do to kind of get that motor running. But at the core, you first need to connect with yourself. Otherwise, there's no light to be projected back to you.
And what disconnected you from yourself in that period?
Life. Just moving through life unconsciously and needing to protect or having the belief that I needed to protect myself. I am a very sensitive being and I feel deeply and a lot. And I have learned that that is not safe as I was growing up. But whether it was because the environment couldn't hold me, or it was just too much for myself and I didn't know how to regulate myself, or wherever it came from, that belief was within me. So therefore, I started to kind of numb myself, because if I would feel something, the amount that I felt wasn't safe to feel and let out. So it's like, okay, we're not going to feel that. And the more, if you numb something, it's going to ripple out into everything. So the more you numb yourself, the more disconnected you feel from yourself. And it can also be through trauma or through certain experiences where it was just an immediate nope. That's also where kind of dissociation comes from. And certain mental health problems, they all come from this protective mechanism where it's not safe to be you, it's not safe to feel, it's not safe to express. And therefore, you need to close yourself off, disconnect from yourself, not feel, and numb yourself to survive.
And what were your mechanisms of like numbing yourself? Or because I can see that numbing yourself is kind of pushing away sensations in your being and not giving it attention, like willfully ignoring it as some sort of protection mechanism. Mm-hmm. But in a sort of way, it's kind of also like if you protect yourself, it's kind of, it also kind of feel like you kind of hold yourself. And how does protecting yourself result in feeling less? Like right? Like because you're like, oh, here I'll keep my, and then you're really focused on what you need to protect. Like how does that like disappear in this process then?
Yeah. So the act of protection itself is love. That's what you are tuning into when you say like, yeah, but I'm holding that part of myself, and that's love. I'm more connected to myself because I'm so focused on it, and I'm doing everything I can to keep it safe. So that is love, and that can be a doorway to get back into that connection with yourself. But when you are protecting yourself, it's a 24/7 job. It costs a lot of energy, a lot of focus energetically to keep that guarded and to keep that wall up, to keep it protected. So the more focus goes into, I need to protect myself, the less focus and attention can go into that part that actually needs love, or the part that actually wants to soften because it's so exhausted of holding itself up the entire time. Like you kind of get distracted from the truth of it all. And there's also another layer to that, where, for example, I had a whole thing that I moved through when it comes to proving yourself, where I realized that I was proving myself to my caregiver from when I was younger up until the 20s, like just late. And it was subconscious. I didn't realize how deeply ingrained it was, but it was rippling out into everything I was doing. And when you are in that proving energy, when it starts, it's I know how good enough I am. I know how worthy of love I am. And I know how incredible I am and how valuable I am. So I'm going to share that with my caregivers, with my environment, with whatever. Then that gets rejected, or there's something that makes you feel unsafe or not loved in the way that you feel loved. And in that moment, there's like the masculine in you, the protector in you that comes online and says, no, but I know that I am worthy of love and I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to show it to you. So then it starts to do all these things, whether it's people pleasing, whether it's helping just an extra time, even though it doesn't feel right to you, or whatever it may be. It's going to do all these different things to try and show you how loving I am and how worthy I am of your love. And if that still isn't received, if the person still doesn't get the love that they feel loved in, at a certain point, this part that was protecting you and saying like, no, but I'm going to show you, even forgets why it started in the first place, because it's been at it for so long that now it's just remembering I'm proving myself. And then it can twist into, wait, I'm proving myself. Why am I proving myself? That must mean that there's something wrong with me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to prove myself, because it forgot why it even started in the first place. So with all of these things, the longer it continues, the more disconnected you become, and the more you start to forget why you did it in the first place and what the actual reason was behind it. Because the initial thing of I'm going to protect you is love. But if you then hold on to it and you don't get yourself either out of that unsafe environment, or you speak up about it, or you do something to shift it, but you keep in that protective mode, at a certain point, you don't even have the energy anymore to focus on anything else. And you forget why you even started protecting yourself in the first place. So then it just knows protection. I need to protect myself. Why? I don't know, but I do. So then you get into that energy. And that's disconnection.
Yeah. And how does that make it more difficult to follow a path that,
Well, if you don't feel connected with yourself, you don't know if there's a path in front of you. You don't know if that's your path. Even though it might be screaming, I'm your path. It's like, but are you? I don't know. I can feel it. So you need to be in connection with your body, with your heart, with your soul, to even have that guidance system of, this is a yes for me, this is a no for me. If you don't know what yes and no feels like in your body, then because you don't feel safe to be in your body or to feel that yes and no, how are you ever going to discern whether it's the path for you or not? So then it's just in the dark. I choose that one. And then you go on it and you put all your work into it, and then it turns out still not to be your path. So you first really need to connect with yourself, feel safe in your body, to listen to what your yes are, what your no's are, what your excitements are, what do you enjoy. And from there, you can start to put that onto, how can we translate this into human form and structures and systems? What are the things outside that bring me joy that I can incorporate into my life?
And when you're first getting a little bit familiar with how yes and no feels in your body, and then you share that with the people around you, or like your caregivers, or like the people that are close to you, and they love you, and then they start kind of from their own perspective try to guide you like towards a path that they feel is the best for you. Your parents saying to you, yeah, no, you should go to school. You should go do this. Or even when you're already on that path, like when you're still insecure about yourself, like how do you keep the course?
Yeah, that's difficult. It's when you are still kind of fragile in your new belief system. It still is very new, and it's vulnerable still. When you get those old perspectives or different perspectives thrown on you, it's very easy to kind of get like disoriented on, but what is my truth? Because this feels very familiar, what they say, because I used to identify with that for the most of my life. So that can be a difficult process you need to go through. And that's where kind of the loopholes or the challenges of life, the moments that you get tested, get thrown in there. Because that's a journey where you need to come back to yourself time after time after time, until there is this certain pattern that you start recognizing of, oh, but I always come back to this answer. So I don't have doubt anymore. This is my truth. And at first, there might be moments where you need to make the wrong choice. And sometimes you listen to the wrong people. But every time that you do that, you come closer to your truth. Because you know, this is not it. I tried it and it's not it. Then you know, at least you know. And you need to give yourself that grace. But something that you can do in the moment is when it happens is to, like afterwards, when you have a time for yourself alone, to journal about it, to sit with it. And so one very clear thing to me is the beliefs that are connected to your soul in the same frequency as your soul, they feel open, they feel light, they feel like love. So in the previous episode, we were talking about making a list of love. If you have that.
If you can refresh it a little.
Yeah, of course. So in the previous episode, we were talking about creating a list for yourself of how unconditional love feels like in your body. And we did this by guiding you into a little meditation and really sitting with the feeling of love in your body, the sensations that brings up. And through that kind of giving spiritual qualities to it. So it feels opening, it feels warm, it feels powerful, it feels etc. This is the same frequency that your soul resonates with. This is the same frequency that you are meant to walk. The choices that you make, the ones that are most aligned with that frequency, are most in line with your soul. So whenever there is a certain belief or a certain path that gets thrown onto you, you can go into that list of love and feel into your body. How does this belief make me feel? Does it make me feel contracted or does it make me feel opening? And if it makes you feel opening, there's a big chance that that's in alignment with your soul. Because beliefs that aren't in the same frequency as your soul, they're gonna feel heavy. Everything that feels heavy, everything that feels contractive and like a lot of weight isn't yours. It's really that simple. And you need to learn to trust that. That's a whole journey on its own. But that is the truth of it.
How do you trust that?
Yeah, that's a journey of feeding it yourself, connecting with it. So not just hearing us talk about it, but actually go within your own experience to feel the truth of the words that I'm saying, to feel the truth of things that are in alignment with my soul feels light. And it's a thing of, unfortunately, there are no shortcuts. You need to go through the journey of, I believe this, and then falling down again. And then I believe this, and I fall down again. And every time that you go through that journey and the expansion and contraction, you become more secure in your own belief systems. You get to know yourself on a deeper level, and you know with more certainty, more stability, who you are, what your beliefs are, what you stand for, and what feels like you. But that's a journey that you cannot, do faster.
Since other people are often destabilizing forces when you're awakening, and you're installing these new world beliefs, and they get shaken constantly by the people in your surroundings. I can imagine that finding a lot of alone time, if possible, is helpful. But then you get the dark side of that too. And the spiritual path, the awakening path, can be a very lonely place because all the people around you start not relating to you anymore. Old friends get cut off because you constantly see that they are like unhelpful forces in your journey. And at some point, this can result in losing everybody. How do you balance this basic human desire of feeling connected and connection with other human beings with a path that is very lonely?
Yeah. Good question. It's one of the difficult phases we need to go through as we are on our spiritual path. Not everyone, but most of us. Because there is a period of death. That's like you can really see death and rebirth cycles as you go through this journey. And part of the death cycle is that you need to lose your friends and maybe your job or your family or the place that you were living in. Or you can often see that your life kind of feels like it's falling apart. But that's because it's not resonating with your frequency anymore. And that can feel really lonely at times. So in those moments, it can be really beneficial to connect with communities online, with people who have these experiences or are in the spiritual journey, or to go to certain festivals or to certain ceremonies where you can go connect with these people and to kind of find new hobbies, new interests, new things that where the people that you do connect with, that you do feel like you belong with, to get more involved in those places. But there is a part, like there is for most of us a part in the journey where we do need to sit in isolation, and that's also what genuinely feels best to us, because we don't want to feel that pressure of the external, and we aren't even secure enough yet to really connect with this new self, this new community, this new whatever. There's this in-between phase, and that's the difficult phase. But again, the more often you go through it, the more you recognize it, the easier it becomes, and the stronger you get, in a sense. It's a difficult part of the journey. So you can reach out to people who already are within those communities, or be patient until time shows itself that you then want to connect with other people, and it will come on your path.
When you're going through this lonely chapter, eventually you start feeling so secure in yourself that you can have some connections even with people that aren't on the same path. And yeah, I would describe that as loving someone just for who they are, even if they try to put things on you. And then, like, I've dealt with people who think certain things about me and what is best for me, and at some point you just start smiling and like, yeah, okay. Like, I see your love in this comment, and I see that you're wanting the best for me, and I see that you show your love in this way.
And you can also start to see that it's them. Everything that they say comes from them, their projections, their experiences, their belief systems.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with you. Literally nothing. Like, even when the things that I'm sharing right now, it's all my projection. You don't have to take it on, only if it resonates with your truth. But it is just me projecting my belief system onto the world. So don't take anything personally. And that's kind of the journey that you go on to. As you say, at a certain point, you can be with those people that are completely different from who you are in your belief systems, because you meet them in the unchanging thing beyond it all. It's like, you don't need to have the same belief systems. I can still see the love. I can still feel the love. And this is your unique expression of whatever is going on in your life, in your experience. And this is what came out of it. This is your creation. How beautiful. You don't need to be the same anymore. It's nothing personal.
Yeah, and also I feel like that why does something feel lonely, right? Why is there something so hard about being in isolation, right? Like, what is the thing that we are trying to get out of connecting with other people? Like,
Wholeness.
Yeah. So
there are different parts to this. One is, we are programmed human beings. We are meant to be in community with other people. We are not meant to be on our own within our biology. That's part of it. And there's also a deeper truth in it of inner wholeness, where if you don't feel whole within, you are going to look outside to try and fill that gap so that you feel whole, when the wholeness is actually always within. And sometimes we don't feel the wholeness because we try to reject our shadow side. Then we are only half of the spectrum. And sometimes we're so deep in the shadow side that we reject the light side. And then again, we're not part of the whole thing. So that's where you can feel the disconnection and where you start to feel alone, because you are missing a part of yourself and you want to find that in other people or in other things, other behaviors or other addictions, whatever. So that's the pain. The pain of the loneliness is actually the grief of you not being home, not being whole. The grief of knowing that you can feel this wholeness, but it's not there. That's the loneliness.
It reminds me of this quote of Ram Dass that in some certain point in your awakening, you're just happy to sit around the fire.
Yeah.
Right? To kind of go inwards and just feel the warmth of existence itself and just warm your hands. And like, even if you're fucking in a prison cell, that you can go back and sit around the fire.
Yeah. And that's also like the fire is also your own inner spark again, your own inner light. And you sit around the fire. What do you do when you sit around the fire? You take in its warmth, you look at its beauty, but then you see like, oh, it's starting to dim out. I'm going to add another block. And then you see, oh, wow, okay. And then you enjoy again. And then it needs maybe a little bit more oxygen. Like you're constantly tending to the fire to make sure that it's burning beautifully and brightly. That's the same thing you need to do with yourself and inside. Like if you feel lonely or you feel desperate or there are certain lower energies and emotions that you are feeling, it's just showing you that something within the fire is not working well, whether it's oxygen, whether it needs another log, whether it's whatever. But get curious about it. What do I need right now that will relight that fire a little bit, or that ember? Sometimes it's very small. And maybe it just needs your awareness. Just needs you to be present with it. Let go of the mind and just let it be. And see what comes from that.
When you're more practiced in tending this fire, how can that inform your path when it is unclear because you're following your truth? It's not laid out anywhere. Like maybe actually for a lot of people, like society, yeah, I wouldn't say society is like, I would give it a solid 5 out of 10 or something. Like it kind of keeps us safe from wolves and stuff, right? So that's nice. And like for a lot of people, it kind of works. It is falling apart more and more these days. But if you feel that you don't fit in this 5 out of 10 society, how do you develop this faith in your own decision making? And how do you stop being insecure about where to go, what decisions you make on a daily basis? Like, how do you let your own path unfold with the least resistance possible?
So first thing is, don't take it so damn serious. That's something I need to tell myself a lot. But it's the main mindset shift. Like, don't take it so damn serious. It's you are here to experience the experience. And whether it's a positive or negative experience, you get to make the best out of it. Enjoy it. But then there's also the part of the unknown only feels scary when you are not connected to I am, when you don't feel safe and you aren't connected to that unchanging thing. Because when you are connected to unconditional love, to that unchanging thing, to just presence, awareness, I am, when you feel that, there's no unknown, there's nothing to fear, because the only thing that you will come across in the unknown is more of yourself. And because you are all, you don't fear yourself, you already have it all within. So that's one thing. And also a part of it is, if you go deep into your own spiritual journey and get to know yourself to such a degree, there's also a genuine excitement and curiosity that gets awakened after a while for the unknown. Because you know yourself so well at this point. It's like, give me something I don't know. Give me something that is like exciting, that's mysterious, give it to me. I'm excited for it. So there are certain shifts that you can make within your own experience, within yourself, that creates less fear for the unknown, which immediately allows you to therefore step more in love and see love better, and therefore also make choices that are more aligned with love. But again, you can use that list and you can see with the steps that you are taking, even if it's unknown, does this feel opening, liberating, joyful, warm, powerful, whatever? Does this bring me more excitement and than the other thing? And also, if there is excitement and fear in it as at once, like a high level of excitement and a high level of fear, probably the road you want to take. If it's just fear, maybe not. If it's just excitement, you can challenge yourself more. That's where you find more reward. So find the sweet spot of excitement and fear. And that's most likely the path that you are going to find the most joy and the most excitement and the most growth. And stay centered to the I am. Come back to that. Because then there's nothing to fear. And you get excited because like, something I don't know, how curious.
I think a very important thing that we haven't really touched upon in this conversation is like, what is your view of reality? Because I feel like a lot of fears is because we feel like a certain path or a certain choice that we make will lead to something that will hurt us. Big thing for me in my spiritual awakening was when I first connected with the oneness behind everything, was that there was such a huge relief in my being that before I had that experience, I thought that the world was made of matter. The world was made of atoms and like particles, and that we're these meat puppets just running around, and that there's nothing more to us than just what we're made of in the physical sense, that there's nothing non-physical about this reality. The way that influenced my decisions is that if I thought about my deepest fear, which was dying, I just felt like I had to do everything to avoid that. And that kind of like wrote the script from the bottom layer, like all the things that I feared, the decisions I made out of fear had as their underlying reality that I was just afraid to die.
Which is the I am.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the I am.
Death.
Yeah, like it's the fear that you need to move through to get to I am. Because if you are in I am, your ego isn't there, which is death in a certain sense. So when you are in I am, you are both everything that exists and the void and the emptiness. So for you to move through that fear and get into I am, which you were not, you need to go through that fear to get into I am and not have the fear, be able to see clearly which choice you need to make. And you weren't there, and therefore every choice you made was based on that fear.
Can you expand a little bit more?
Yeah, because in that moment when you believe that everything is matter and that's the only thing there is, you by its core believe in separation.
Yeah.
You believe that you are separate from this person, from this thing, from everything. Once you believe in separation, there's an immediate inherent fear of the unknown. Because only through separation there can be an unknown. Because if we are separate, I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. So now there's danger, because what if there's something inside of you that I can see that will actually inflict danger on me? I don't know. But if you go into oneness, into I am all, you and I are the same. Anything that comes to me is me. Now suddenly there's no separation, there's no fear for something outside of yourself. It all happens from within you. So the fear gets released in that moment.
That is the relief I felt.
That's the relief.
Yeah, because like at that moment you kind of realize that true death as you've pictured it before is not real. That is just an elaborate illusion made up by your brain and your body. So I just wanted to highlight that, like, it is so important to confront the fears of the master fear, basically, in this whole process, because
Death.
Death.
Almost everything comes down to death. Seriously.
How does a path look like when everything you choose is to avoid danger.
That's anxiety. It's stress. Just thinking about that, it stresses me the freak out.
That was my reality.
Yeah. No wonder you always had a tense belly.
Yeah. Still working through that.
Still moving through that. Yeah.
But it's way better.
Yeah. But that's what our society is built on. It's all to extend life and prevent death. That's what it's focused on. But once you kind of release the fear of death, now suddenly a whole world opens up to you, because you don't have to be afraid to do that thing because you might possibly die. No, it's because you actually want to do that thing and it brings you so much joy, and we're here, so why not enjoy the aliveness? Why not, like, even death is a fun process to move through. Like, as we are here in life, we have so many questions about, is there something after death? Why are we here? Is there what? Well, all these questions. Well, we get to experience that once we die. So there's also, like, don't go for it. Don't kill yourself on purpose. But at the same time, once that fear is gone, you do open yourself up to a whole new world where you actually get to make choices from love and true excitement and joy, and not out of, I need to prevent death and extend life. And that's why sometimes you see people who are highly spiritual but still smoke a packet a day. Most likely, like, they have their own stuff they need to move through. But there are also a lot of people that are just like, yeah, but I just enjoy it. I like the taste. I like doing it. And I don't care if I die. If this brings me more fulfillment as I am here, that's what I'm going to do. I don't have to prevent death. And then other people are like, oh, you're not spiritual. They're the most spiritual beings ever, because they don't care about it. They do what fulfills them, what brings them joy. That's why we are here. So,
yeah. That feels like an ending to me. like it felt like we closed the circle there. Close the circle with the thing that is actually closing the circle. Right? Death. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share about how you got confident in unclear path?
I guess to bring it all together into a few sentences, to get to know myself to an annoying extent. Like, really get to know myself and hold myself and challenge my belief systems time after time after time. And every time questioning, like, could I be wrong? Could my belief systems be off? And every time coming back to the same thing. And therefore, it becomes more and more solid. So now when people say something to me, it's like, I know where I stand. I have thought this through, believe me. I know where I stand. And also being able to hold yourself, going through the journey, being patient with yourself, which I do not like, and our ego doesn't like in general. We want shortcuts. But I've really learned throughout this journey that there are no shortcuts. And it may seem with psychedelics, this is a shortcut, and it kind of is, but you still have to integrate all of it. So it's not really a shortcut. And we need to accept that, because through the journey and going through it time after time after time, that's where the confidence comes from. That's where you become unshakable, unfuckwithable, and you can actually stand fully in yourself, speak, allow yourself to be seen, speak your opinion, speak your truth, because you know yourself. There's nothing someone can say that you haven't already explored within yourself. And if they do, there's nothing to fear, because you know it's you, and you know that it will only get you into more light, more strength, more power. So even when they do, it's like, thank you. And you move on. So that's in a few sentences.
Yeah. I would say, I would like to add, like, psychedelics aren't our shortcut for the integration or whatever. I think it is a shortcut to get your first taste.
Definitely, yeah.
Because, like, if you want your first taste.
We want you for taste.
If you want your first taste and you want to do it through meditation, it can take way longer than in a safe, guided way. Definitely. And the breath work, of course, that is like psychedelics light.
Yeah, if you don't want to do any use any Jesus. If you don't want to use any
substances.
If you don't want to use any substances, I would highly recommend breath work. That's like you can go into psychedelic states with your breath alone, nothing else.
Yeah.
But as you say, psychedelics can, like they do kind of quicken your path in a lot of ways. But if it's not grounded in digested and embodied, it's all going to go up there and it can get you very, very destabilized if you do it often without any integration. So yeah, it is kind of a shortcut and it isn't. So use it with care. And integration, guys.
Integration. Come on, that's it. That's what this whole show is about. So if you have any questions, though, leave a comment down below. And where can people find you?
On all social media platforms, it's idovira_3. So you can give me a follow there.
Okay, thank you. And see you next time.
Yes, see you next time.